So to give some context, I came to Cambridge in 1972. I worked as a nightclub DJ, projected films at the Arts Cinema, Market Passage, across the old Twin Towers. There's twin projection towers, they're called. Worked at the stage door of the Arts Theatre for 11 years. When they closed the theatre for a rebuild in '92, I became a nurse. 18 months on acute admissions at Fulbourn, working across the whole site there, and I did Darwin and some work at Addenbrooke's too. And after that 18 months, where I was living on site at Old Rosebank, the nursing homes. So that's homes where nurses live, as opposed to nursing homes where elderly live. I have done a lot of work in those there. In the 5.5 years after I left my contract at acute admissions. Anyway, so I also, when I was at the Arts Theatre stage door, as well as doing some DJing parallel to that in a club called 66, Route 66. I was also led a group to found what was known now as the Junction. Excuse Lacey playing ball here. So I was General Secretary and Press Secretary of that group for about 3 years until the Junction was built. But I'm sorry to say that the Black Lodge don't like it. We're one of the ants in the cattle, or the dead and the underguns, they like to call us. The regular people who aren't the chosen ones. Well, when one of us steps up, you could say that the more you shine, the more of darkness will come and find you. And I had a lot of that in the last 20 years. A particular civil servant with grudges, who is in my opinion, macro-occupied Black Lodge operative. He's a housing officer. Although there's a man called Robert Hollingsworth, excuse me, who was supposed to be head of housing. He was a councillor that was given that job, and the press said at the time, why has he been given this job? He doesn't have any training or experience to do the job. 40 grand a year, 50 grand a year, or something it was. And, well, in my opinion, he was the shop window, as is often the case with Black Lodge. They have a shop window like Hollingsworth, and the operative is just behind them, hiding. So if things go really badly or go wrong, or there's some exposure or something like that, they can throw the shop window under the bus and the operative remains in position. And of course, I don't think anything like that happened, but I think Hollingsworth's retired now. And this man, Andrew Latcham, who I say, in my opinion, is MO, macro-occupied, but he's certainly very vindictive, spiteful, psychopathic creature, who's been sending pet psychopaths at me for the last 20 years and driven me out of a home at Kingsway Flats, a home at Campkin Road, and trying to drive me out of this home where I am now, and manipulating tenants who have severe mental illness, using them as a weapon to then recruit other tenants who are schizophrenic or psychopathic. To tell them, oh, the council aren't going to do anything, you do what you like. And that's sort of the mentality of it, really. So a lot of grief for the last 20 years. Lacey and I, and my dog Jude before, they do attack animals and use animals as weapons all the time, psychopaths and schizophrenic. Just no respect for them at all, no care for them at all, of course. Anyway, how did it get like this? I've given a brief idea of me being in Cambridge. I've lived in Spain for a while now, Los Angeles a couple of times in late 80s, early 90s. Anaheim, and before that in 89 I was in North Hollywood for 3 months. Also in Japan for 3 months in the 70s. Denmark for 3 months or so. Germany for about 5 months, doing lighting on a rock band on the road there. And some DJing later on, another place. So I've been around a bit. But here, we had this thing happen. Well, it's sort of 3 things really. First thing is in 80 to 82, we had an invasion from a Scottish city. And I knew about this because I was working on the Junction project. So I knew a lot of those bands and things. There was 2 or 3 bands that had formed up from these Scottish heroin dealers and heroin users that had turned up in Cambridge between 1980 and 82. And, well, they kind of, if you looked at the crime figures 75 to 85, you'd see that the burglaries, the shoplifting, the muggings, the aggressive begging went through the scene. They all got their little territories along the river. You know, and it wasn't so much a question of, please give me some money or else. A lot of that going on. Anyway, this is the early 80s. And this group takes over a place called Winter Comfort. Winter Comfort had been designed for a few days a week. Homeless people could get access and get clothes, wash their own clothes, get a hot meal, get advice on trying to get housing and that kind of thing. But there was a case in 1999 where the 2 managers were sent to prison for 5 years, later reduced to 18 months, for allowing heroin to be sold there. But heroin was being sold there from about 1981-82, when this group from Scotland had kind of turned it into Heroin Central, Winter Comfort, like Overstream House. But anyway, so there's an operation, and there's a thing about the Keith Laverack case, which I'll come back to, but that feeds into this as well. There's a case in 1999 led by Superintendent Needles, and 30 undercover officers for 9 months make videos and gather evidence of these 2 managers allowing heroin to be sold there in Overstream House, Winter Comfort. They spent £5 million of public money to do this, and then there's a long court case that probably cost equal amount, so that's probably about 10 million. Now, they sent these 2 to prison for 18 months, but they served most of that during the trial period. And why did they do this? Well, my opinion, and this is my opinion, what they wanted to do was take over the sale of heroin, cocaine, amphetamine and steroids, which is what they did. Now, in my opinion, that brings them an income of about 10 to 12 million pounds a year. And of course they have all these psychopaths that they've employed to be their dealers for them. You know, you give proclivities to the psychopath will do what they're told and follow orders. And I've had 4 of these directed at me because Latcham is part of this, in my opinion, Black Lodge, Scotia Rite, probably because of the Scottish connection. So back to the Keith Laverack case. This is the mid-80s, excuse me. Keith Laverack was head of social services in Cambridge, and he ran a paedophile ring. Now, he went to prison for 18 years, but the paedophile ring didn't. How many were arrested, interviewed or talked to about the case, I don't know. But my guess is that those who were involved in it because now they had something they could put them in prison for 10 years if they wanted to, were then ideal blackmail subjects for Black Lodge. So in other words, they get promotions and put into positions of power because they have something on them strong enough that they will do what they're told. And they do what they're told. So in 99, the shift, the drug dealing gig was also to mean that by mixture of blackmail and various criminality, one thing and another, the Black Lodge have got all the levers in their hands in Cambridge, and own Cambridge. And of course that's the way they think, that they do own everything and everybody, and it's just ants and cattle on the ground floor, and dead and undergun down in the basement. That's what they think of the population. So it's not surprising really that this kind of local psychopathy takes over local authorities and things like that. The council, now this man Latcham is tin gone to his fiefdom, the housing department. And anybody employed there has been interviewed and assessed by him and employed because they're psychopathic and narcissistic and will do what he tells them to do. And police are the same, and much worse really. Nasty bunch really. And so that's the kind of situation in Cambridge. Is it anything to do with Willy Wonka Windsor and the dukedom? Could be. I mean, they saw this coming on the horizon, so figured that no media or press would, anybody would dare say anything about Cambridge with Willy Wonka Windsor involved, would they? And of course, we know the Royals come back as and forwards, and I bumped into a couple of them. I'm not a fan, and I do think they're aliens, really. They are Nephilim, or sort of what the remains of the Nephilim are now. And this is why so much evil exists in the world, because Nephilim are running things via these means, these Black Lodges and what have you. Well, that's Cambridge's story, in my opinion. It is my opinion. You might say I'm delusional and paranoid. Well, I did work in mental health for 18 months, and I can tell you I'm fine in myself, because I don't tell lies, and I don't tell lies for other people, and I don't tolerate lies where I find them, and I confront people when they tell me lies. So I'm just the antithesis of the kind of people they like to know about. That's why they give me such grief, and they do that on my phones and my internet, giving keys to psychopaths coming in and out of my home, do damage to my property, tormenting my dog, using other dogs. Oh, it goes on and on and on and on and on. But evil does, doesn't it? Creeps on and drips on, like a horrible runny nose. It goes on forever, clogging up your brain. But I'm glad I've been able to dump this today. See what you think of it.